Welcome into episode number 8 of the Ball Boys podcast. I am your host, Caleb Zuver, and as always, I'm joined with my good friend Alexa Matievich. Alexa, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, you?
Doing all right. We've got some special guests joining us today, Mr. Noah Roebuck and Eli Tressler. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic, Zuber.
I'm doing great, Zoo. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, so Noah, we'll start with you. Just introduce yourself to the audience. We obviously have Alexa's kind of, fans that he has listening. They may not know who you guys are. So we'll start with Noah. Just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, all right. So I'm a student at Ohio State. I'm a third year. I am studying sports industry. I've watched college football my whole life. I love it. Watch every single game, every single night I can. And I've known Zuber and Tressler for basically my whole life.
Yeah, I'm Eli Tressler. I'm 21, and I love sports just like you guys, man. Basketball, baseball, football, and me, Zuv, and Roebuck knew each other for a long time. We'd play wiffle ball in the backyard to basketball league, and it was really fun, man. So that's kind of how I got to know these guys.
Yeah, so Noah did kind of spoil what we're going to talk about today, Alexa. It's college football, and it's been a season full of uncertainty and moving parts and things that have just been up in the air altogether. So we're gonna all of us have Big Ten fans here. Alexa, you're what, Michigan State fan, right?
State. Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of teams, let's be honest. But Michigan State's your Big Ten team, and then Noah has an interesting story. He was a Michigan fan, and then he attends the Ohio State University. I'm gonna put you on blast here a little bit.
Yeah,
my
go
man.
ahead.
Michigan fan, then attends Ohio State, gets over to the right side of things, and then Eli is obviously Ohio State fan, just like myself. So we'll start with Eli. We'll start with you first. What are your just overall thoughts of the college football season up to this point?
Man, it's been like a roller coaster. It's been up and down throughout this season, and it's definitely been an interesting year so far. And especially with college football, I mean, these guys used to having fans all the time, sold out stadiums sometimes. But it's been interesting with having some fans in stadiums, and then you're seeing none in other stadiums. And you're seeing like the creation of added crowd noises and stuff. It's definitely been interesting, and I kind of want to talk about what's been kind of crazy is, for an example of the Alabama-Georgia game, leading up to that game, and Saban gets tested positive for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, if you lose a head coach, I mean, your mind's already thinking, wow, like, he's our guy. Thankfully, he comes back, and, it's back to the norm. Alabama wins. But if you think about it, you lose a head coach, what happens? Does Bama beat Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. So it's an interesting year, and you're going to see that maybe a lot. Like, I don't know what to think. You as a head coach, does the game still go on? Like,
Yeah.
It's just been really interesting this year just to watch football, and players get tested for COVID, and then a bunch of games canceling. I don't know. A lot of adjusting to do as a fan. But I don't know. Things are starting to come back to the norm, though, I think, with the Big Ten and everyone coming back. So I think a lot of people are going to be happy with that.
Oh, yeah, and just to touch up on that, the word interesting is a really good word to use for the season. As you can see, he talked about Saban, and, Florida just canceled, or not canceled, but suspend their season until Monday. They also got their game against LSU pushed back last weekend. So it's been a roller coaster, like what Eli said. But I feel like for what teams have had and what they've had to work with, like the testing and stuff, I feel like it's been pretty decent so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not many teams have been pushed out, and not many players have been having to sit out. But for what it's been so far, I think it's been pretty good.
I agree with what both of you guys said, and especially since 1 week you might have your team play, and the next week there might not be a game. So it's always better to have something than nothing. So even though I would want to have like previous year, every Saturday, a lot of games.
And fans and the marching band and all cheerleaders, all that stuff, yeah.
So it's at least good that there is something. All right, the question for you guys is, who was your top 4 preseason, and has that changed?
I'll go ahead and lead us off here. So for a season, I had Clemson 1, Bama 2, Ohio State 3, Florida 4. But kind of looking at the season so far, this is going to sound crazy, you guys, but BYU number 4. They're undefeated right now, and they have an pretty easy
I like
schedule.
that.
To work
I like
with
the
rest of
hot
year.
takes. I love it.
Hot take, very hot take. The quarterback Wilson is a freaking stud.
By the way, I want to say something, because I have watched a little bit of him, and you know the Indianapolis Colts are looking for a quarterback, and that dude he's got raw talent. I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm just gonna put it out there and say, like, I would not be opposed to the thought of it. But anyway, no, keep going.
Gosh. But yeah, Zach Wilson's been a stud for them, and I really could see him slip in the number 4 spot. But as for the other 3 teams, obviously, Bama, Clemson, and Ohio State.
Yeah, my top 4 was Clemson 1, Ohio State 2, 3 Bama, and 4 Georgia. And then after, season looking at it, I think it's Clemson 1, 2 Bama, 3 Georgia, and I'm going to put 4 Oklahoma State. And the reason why I don't put Ohio State in there is because they haven't played a game yet. And I think it's tough to put somebody in there, from my opinion. That doesn't mean I don't think they're a top 4 team, though, for sure. They are. But Oklahoma State was just kind of a throw-in, because I think after, those 3 teams, it's kind of a toss-up as of right now.
Yeah.
But I get that, what Noah said, BYU, they're playing hot. Originally, I thought Texas would squeak in, but, they not been playing their best football, obviously. And I just think someone in the Big 12, if there was a chance, would be Oklahoma State as of right now. But
yeah, for sure. And for me, my top 4 before the season was like yours, Eli. And I totally, I totally get, that we don't know what Ohio State is. We think they're going to be good. We don't know. But I think that top 4 at the end of the year is still going to be Clemson, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State. And I still think Georgia's getting in, because
I think it's a real shot.
I mean, listen, that game, Georgia was up what? Weren't they up 24-20, right? Mm-hmm. And that game turned all of a sudden. And they're probably going to meet up in the SEC championship again. Mm-hmm. And if Georgia wins that, well, then you're the SEC championship you're in, and Alabama's Alabama. So I think that top 4 isn't going to change. So I don't know. It is all up in the air, and we still have a lot to see. I think, the top 4 or maybe 5 teams are cut above everyone else. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But let's talk about the Big Ten, because this is why we're talking today, and that's because it starts this weekend. I think I know what the answer is to this question, but we can just go around and ask, who do you guys got winning the Big Ten this year?
Come on.
I guess I could start this off. So
Hey, we had Alexa say Rutgers over here, so everything's on the table. All right, go ahead.
So, you just can't say Ohio State's not going to win. So much talent and experience, obviously. So I kind of wanted to switch the question. Maybe I would say, who is going to win the Big Ten if it's not Ohio State? Yeah. That's what I kind of thought. So if it's not going to be Ohio State, for me, I think the next team up is Minnesota. And I'll tell you my reasoning. The whole offensive line's back. Your quarterback's still in. And you got one of the best Big Ten receivers in the game that just came back. Defensively, they lost 4 guys in the draft, so there's a lot of question marks there. But, PJ Fleck, row the boat, man. He started this, and he came in. I think he's a great guy for the program. And you're starting to see a lot of the Minnesota guys buy into what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And I think he's doing a great job. And if it's not Ohio State for whatever reason, if COVID stops the Buckeyes, I don't even know if they'll stop them. But if there's a chance it's not Ohio State, I think Minnesota will win. They're the next team up.
Yeah, to answer that first question, obviously Ohio State. Second question that Eli put out there. I was thinking Minnesota, but like you kind of touched on it a little bit. The reason why I didn't is because their defense lost a lot of guys, lost Winfield. So I think Wisconsin, honestly, they did lose a lot. Lost the interior O line. They lost Jonathan Taylor, but watch out for Graham Mertz, their quarterback, stepping in. Jack Cohn got injured. Graham Mertz, I believe he was a high 4-star, if I'm correct. He's pretty good. He's gonna be a stud, and I think he could be a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten by the end of the year.
Alexa?
Okay, so I'm picking Ohio State. I think they should get it easily. But if it's not them, I am between two teams, Wisconsin and Penn State.
Mm-hmm. But Penn State, for me, that's the team, like, I feel like you're just not, like, they could be, we'll find out a lot week 2 when Ohio State and Penn State play. We'll find out a lot about both teams. But I think Penn State is the kind of team where they could be up with Ohio State, or they could just be really just another team. I think they're kind of just in the middle there. I think they really could challenge the Buckeyes. That would be my team, but.
All right. What is the team that's being most slept on from Big Ten?
I'll lead us off here. I think the team that I said that I think could win it if Ohio State doesn't, that's Wisconsin, again, because of Grant Mertz. And I don't know, I think they're 14th right now in the top 25, but I could see them as a top 10 team by the end of the year, and I think they're going to win the West. I think they'll beat Minnesota. Mm-hmm. What about you, Eli?
Man, this might surprise y'all. And I talked to Roebuck about this last year. Indiana. Indiana.
Shout out Randy Holtz. Shout out Randy Holtz, baby.
Yeah. So Indiana, they went 8-5 last year, finishing above 500, and that was good for them. They haven't been there in a while. So let me tell you little key losses they had last year. Lose to Michigan State by 9. That was at Michigan State. They were ranked 25 at the time. Then they go to lose by Penn State by 7. Penn State was ranked 9. That was also at Penn State. So this team, they're tough, man. And I want to tell you the reason why. Michael Penix Jr., don't let this name leave your mind. I'm telling you. This kid's good when he's healthy, though. When he's healthy, he's a great player for Indiana. Fun fact, when he's starting for them, they're 3-1. They're 3-1 as a team. This kid's an athlete. He's a tall lefty. He's almost 220 pounds. He's 6'3", and he can sling the football, man. And this is something Indiana needs. And I don't know. Penn State's going to survive week 1, man, if I'm going to be honest. But just from a positive side for Indiana, 9 stars returning back from defensively. If you think about it, the close games they had last year against ranked teams, they did a good job with that. So I think 9 starters coming back defensively. Indiana's a team that I think is going to be slept on. But, man, you can't sleep on Penix. If he's healthy, I don't think you can sleep on this team. So they just got that dog mentality. I don't think they're going to quit a lot. And against Ohio State, you saw last year, it's kind of blowout. Penix didn't play. When he's playing, the team's up. I don't know. I like something about Indiana. But I'm excited. The kid's a dual threat quarterback. I think he was Big Ten Player of the Week twice last year. So that's something to look out for that I think with Indiana.
I cannot believe that I'm about to say this team, but I think Purdue is going to be the most slept team on.
Oh, my.
I like
Ronald Moore.
Ronald Moore. I like his speed. He's a good receiver.
Yeah, I will say, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, you're good.
After that, game he had against Ohio State a couple years ago, I think most people were expecting him to keep that success going last year, but I don't know if he really took that next step. I don't think, at least. So I think this year could be a really big year for him, but keep going.
Their quarterback, I think he's going to improve. Jack Plummer, he was solid last year, but I think he'll improve. And I don't know if he'll play this year, but what is his name? He played at Valpo High School, offensive tackle.
Oh, your school. He played at your school.
And he was getting offers from Indiana and stuff, so I think he'll step in pretty good there.
For me, I was gonna say Minnesota, but Eli kind of picked them as the second best team in the Big Ten. But that was mine. Just same thing you said, Eli. Just kind of the culture they're building there. I really like what they're doing. And so I want to go back to something I talked about a little bit earlier. We're gonna move out of the Big Ten here. A lot of people this year have been talking like, you know, that the playoff almost hurts college football in a way because you have your four teams that make it every year like Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State, and all the recruits want to just go to that school because they know when late December and January rolls around, they're going to be playing in meaningful bowl games for a title. So my question is like, especially this year, because I think we know right now who the four best teams are going to be. And do you think after that, maybe four, maybe five, if there's someone that you think, can challenge them, but after the 4 or 5 best teams, like, do you think there's a drop-off? And do you think, if yes, do you think that's because of the playoff system?
I mean, it definitely helps. Like, it doesn't make it better, like, if you're not in the playoffs, obviously, right? I mean, if you don't make the playoffs, if you don't have a bowl game, it's just early recruiting, I guess. I mean, this was an interesting one. It's hard to tell this year with teams, I think, if there's a significant drop-off after the 4 or 5 best teams. My reasoning was, like, especially this year, it's been so interesting. There's no spring training, like, so teams are kind of behind in certain spots. So I really don't know if there's a big drop-off, but I think the biggest thing is teams after the 4 and 5, are they consistent enough of being a good program? Because a good program is being consistent. And if you look at the top 4 teams, Georgia, Clemson, Bama, Ohio State, they've had really consistent programs. But I don't know, it's been a tough year already to see if there's a huge drop-off, in my opinion.
You were kind of touching on how, like, recruiting could hurt if there's, like, the playoff system and stuff. And I never really thought of it that way, Zuber. But I could definitely see it now because it's, like, consistently the same 3 teams being in every year, Ohio State, Clemson, Bama, with, like, the 4th being an outlier usually every year. But, yeah, I could see it hurting that. And in terms of, like, if there's a big drop-off between, like, after the 4 or 5 best teams, yeah, there's a huge drop-off, I think. I think there's a big drop-off after the top 3 teams. I think the top 3 are on their own. Georgia is on their own, and then, like, just a big drop-off after that. Like, I don't see Texas A&M close to Georgia or Oklahoma State or Penn State or Florida. So, yeah, I could definitely see the playoff system hurting recruiting, and I can definitely see there's a huge drop-off after the 4 best teams in the country.
All right, so I agree with you guys, especially for number 3 teams with each year is going to be Ohio State, Clemson, and what did I forget?
Bama.
Alabama. There we go. All of the recruits, I don't blame them. Like I would have done the same thing. Absolutely. If I could play in the bowl game. I would have signed up for any of them basically. And there is a huge drop off, especially last year. I'm looking right now. There is LSU was number 1, but I mean they lost Burrow and all of their guys, so now they're not in. Oregon lost Justin Herbert. Baylor, I don't even know about them.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I think we're all in that boat. Like, what is Baylor doing this year? I got no clue.
Who knows?
So the only like close teams to challenging Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State is just Oklahoma and maybe Georgia, and that's it.
In Oklahoma, yeah, they've been in the playoff a couple times, but I mean, this year they don't have the talent to challenge those teams, and I just think it's weird. I was all for the playoff system, and I think I still am. I think it's great, but it does seem like Ryan Day and Dabo and Nick Saban, they are getting all the players, and I don't know how you fix that or if you fix it. I mean, it's a tough thing because honestly, you think about that playoff semifinal game last year with LSU and Oklahoma. Now, granted, LSU was like historically great last year, and we know that, but like you see a difference between the number 1 ranked team in the country and number 4 ranked. Like, they blew them off the field.
Mm-hmm.
Blew Oklahoma off the field. And, like, we thought Oklahoma was okay. And so I think that there's gaps every year, even sometimes within the playoff system. And, like I said, I don't know how you fix that or if you fix that, but let's wrap things up here. Is there anything else you guys want to add? Any names you want to drop and claim before the season starts that might be breakout stars? Any teams you think might be sneaky good? I know we've talked about some of this, but I'm going to give you one last chance as our kind of college football insiders we have on this show to make any claims you want.
Penix for Heisman.
No. I mean, Penix, obviously, I think he's going to be really good if he's healthy again. It can't just be him playing 3 games and he can't play anymore. But, if we're just talking about the Big Ten, Justin Fields, obviously, Rashad Bateman, who else am I forgetting? There's a couple other guys, but I don't know. The guy that I'm excited about is Penix Jr. I mean, I don't know if nobody really talks about him enough, and he's on Indiana, a team that recently just had good success. Last year is 8-5, but that's a guy I'm really excited to watch. And I believe they do face Penn State right this week.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a good test. So I'm excited to watch that at Penn State. I think, not for sure though, but it's gonna be good. I'm excited.
Before we hop off, Zuber, I want to get your opinion on Michigan. What do you think of them?
Well, listen, to me, I think, there's no secret that the clock's ticking on Jim Harbaugh. Like, let's just be honest, right? And so, listen, I'm not going to sit here because we've made judgments about Michigan before the season, right? We've said, this is the year. I've even said it. This is the year they beat Ohio State. Like, Jim has to do it. Like, he's a good enough coach that he's going to do it. And so I want to, and especially with an off season like it was, where we don't know what to expect out of a lot of teams, I'm waiting to see how they come out in the week 1 and week 2. So I won't cast any judgments on them. But, like, let's just be honest. Like, and let me throw the question back on you, Noah. Like, How long – because I know there's still an ounce of Michigan pride in your heart. But how long do you want to give Jim Harbaugh at the University of Michigan? Like, year, 2 years? Like, what – because I think it's between a year and 2 years that he's got to, like, deliver in a big game.
I think the year for them to beat Ohio State was – 2016, and they didn't do it. And I believe the year after, where talent was almost on par. Now the talent is just, it's not close now. They're not beating them this year. They're not going to beat them next year. I think the clock's ticking. It's just a matter of time until the Michigan fans grow restless and just kick them out of Ann Arbor.
Yeah, let me hop on this. Jim Harbaugh, I was high on him when he came into Michigan. No one knows that. I thought he was a good coach. But, like, I don't know if Michigan is content with going above 500 and they're okay with losing to Ohio State at the end and maybe not winning the bowl game. But, like,
all they want to do is beat Ohio State. Trust me, they don't care about anything else.
So, like, then my next thing is, like, Harbaugh, like, what's going on? Like early in the years, we'd be like, all right, it wasn't his players. He didn't get what he had.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're kind of like,
now it's his guys.
It's time to step up, like, But this is a big week 1 too. He's got Minnesota. He's got College game day going. Like, all eyes on him again.
Saturday night football.
And then, and there's a couple guys that aren't going to be there for Michigan, right? They're going to have a young receiving core, I believe. And Joe Milton, he's a good athlete. He's going to be good, but. I mean, Minnesota, we're talking about a team that's been rolling, and the coaching staff's been consistent. It's all about consistency, and I think Harbaugh, he just doesn't have that right now. He's not being consistent with either getting good guys, sending guys to the draft, progressing guys. Like, so I don't know. Maybe a year or 2 for Harbaugh, I'll give him, but I don't even know.
They lost a ton of guys in like their O-line and receivers and defense, so I don't see him. I think it's just a matter of time until he's out of there.
Alexa, as we wrap things up, my friend, is there anything you want to add?
I agree with Michigan. They're not going nowhere this year, especially.
I think we're all kind of just waiting on Michigan,
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of hoping, I don't know why, but I kind of want to see, they're going to get blown out, but I kind of want to see Notre Dame finish top 4.
Yeah, they're going to have to beat Clemson for sure.
That's like
and that's the game.
Or something.
What?
Is that like the last week on their schedule?
It's one. I think it's like one of the last games.
It's like in 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but that's definitely a big game for them to hop on.
Yeah, because then that throws everything.
The biggest thing for them is just they just really haven't looked the best. Like I don't think they played the best football they can play, and that's all right. Like this has been an interesting year, but like Clemson, you're seeing them put 70 points on a Georgia Tech team, and then you see them beat a good Miami team. So it's kind of like, all right, like, and years before, a lot of people thought Notre Dame was really good. They should be in the top 4. So it'll be interesting. I agree with you. They could definitely make, if they beat Clemson, they can make an argument. Hey, like we deserve to be in that top 4. So I think it really relies on that game. Mm-hmm. But again, you can't really look past the games you're playing.
Yeah.
As players too. So it's just one game at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Alexa. I think that's a game that's circled on a lot of people's calendars in the college football year. But all right, we're gonna wrap things up here. This was really fun, and we'll have to get you guys on again. I know we're gonna go home for a break around November 20th or something like that. We'll be home for 2 months, so we'll have to do this again because I know we'll still be doing podcasts and stuff. So we'll have to get these guys on again, talk about where college football stands at that point, and that should be fun. So really appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you so much for insight. We'll do it again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
All right. You've been listening to the Ball Boys Podcast.